Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias, brought to you by the Cat Production Team.
Going to be looking at this knife in just a second. This is the Frost Family Series large toothpick, the FF125 IAB. The IAB stands for Imitation Abalone. Now, a little bit about the Frost Family Series. From what I understand, this kind of launched about 8 or 9 years ago, I think. Um, and these knives were supposed to be a step above the regular knives that you get from Frost. A little bit better than the Steel Warrior or the Ocoee River lineup and things of that nature. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. The issue I have with it right away, though, is that they refer to this as a large toothpick, yet it is built on a 4-inch frame, so it's really more of a medium toothpick. Um, but I'm seeing this more and more these days that people are referring to a 4-inch toothpick as a large toothpick. And I suppose compared to your typical 3-inch toothpick, it is large. This is the typical 3-inch toothpick. You can see it here. It's 3 inches or thereabouts. And then when you open it up, it comes out at 5 inches. And sometimes people, actually, this one is 5.5 inches when you open it up. And sometimes people will refer to this as a 5.5-inch toothpick when they're selling it. I get all excited and only to find out that it's really just a little tiny toothpick. But this is really what a large toothpick looks like. This is a 5-inch toothpick or a large toothpick. This is also in the Frost lineup, and this is what they used to call a large toothpick, and they used to call this a medium toothpick. But now it has become a large toothpick. I don't know what they call this one then. The jumbo toothpick? I don't know. In any case, I just wanted to point that out first before we start looking at what is being called a large toothpick here. And I will remind you again that this is probably from about 8 years ago. So let's go ahead and crack open this box and take a look at the Frost Family large toothpick. And I kind of knew what I was getting beforehand. Well, first of all, it was an eBay sell, and the guy put up a lot of pictures. But I was also well aware that the knife, the Frost Family knives, came in this nice little velvet pouch. And inside there, it would have been had a plastic bag on there. I took the plastic bag off, and then it was wrapped in paper. And that's one of the things I do like about the Frost knives over the Rough Rider knives even. Frost has a tendency to wrap their knives in a wax paper versus just sticking it in a plastic bag. And I like it better when they're in wrapped in paper. Paper doesn't attract the moisture and everything else, especially the wax paper. And it's a nice touch. And they do that even with the lower priced knives too. And this one has the Frost Family paperwork or paper on there that shows the Frost Shield. Now I don't know if that's the Frost Family Shield or not, or if that is something that Jim Frost created or what, but it's a pretty interesting shield, and you see that replicated in the handle here, the Frost Shield, and that is a nice touch. You can also see the abalone here, which, it's imitation abalone. They made that very clear, IAB. And it's a little dark, but it does look nice. So it's a nice swirly plastic, basically, but in colors that you would see in abalone. And it's got some nice reflection going on in it. So I do like that quite a bit. Has pretty simple bolsters, not as simple as typical Frost knives, because of the typical Frost bolsters have no line at all. These are threaded or ringed, whatever way you want to call it. Also has brass pins and brass liners. And it does have a blade etch. This was a Frost Family knife. And if you can see there, it has a blade etch on there that basically reads Qualitatis est Familia Institution. So I'm assuming that is basically like quality is a family institution, referring to the Frost knives or the Frost family in general. And you see there the Frost Family Shield and the words Frost Family next to it. And on the back side here, you have the 440 stainless there. And if you can see right there above the sticker, the simple word China, which is basically just in there with a pad stamping. So that's just an ink stamping and will rub off in time. And the annoying tested 5658 Rockwell testing for the blade, which is a very common thing you see on a lot of Frost knives. Is it better than a typical Steel Warrior? I don't know. I would say it's about the same as a Steel Warrior. Maybe a little bit better. Maybe they took a little bit more time and quality control with it. Yeah, I guess the fit is better with the imitation abalone handle, but then I would expect that the typically when you're dealing with swirly plastic, it's much easier to get it right than when you're dealing with bone. Bone has a tendency to be cracking and everything else. Same with wood. When you're dealing with wood and bone and stuff like that, you're more likely to have issues with the handle. But with an imitation abalone, you're basically talking about swirly plastic that is being glued on there. Thickness looks about the same from side to side and everything. The bolsters are nice. They're nicely polished. I wouldn't say it's a higher quality polish than a typical Frost knife. But then again, I'm buying this 8 years after the fact. Even though it was new, it was still sitting around for a while. All in all, it's really not a bad knife. The blade action is nice. Actually nice and tight. And quite frankly, it compares well to, here's one of my Rough Rider. This is the green smooth bone medium toothpick. And it compares very well to that. Matter of fact, like I said, this shield is slightly recessed. This one is a little proud. So this one's a little bit above. This one is also in a bone, but very nicely done. And matter of fact, if I did not know that this was a Frost knife, I mean, if it did not say Frost there and that said Rough Rider on there, I would have said, man, that's pretty good. It's not a bad knife at all, and the imitation abalone looks really good. Matter of fact, hold on just a second. Here is a Rough Rider tiny toothpick in their imitation abalone. And, well, here's this one. As you can tell, this one is more in the brown lineup, and this one is more in the blues and purple. I think the Rough Rider has a little bit more shine to it. I'm wondering if this just needs to be polished up a little bit. That could be really what needs to be done. I just need to, polish it up a little bit and see how it reflects light. But really, some of it, in many ways, I like the coloring on the Frost better, but this one catches the light a little bit better. I think they did a better job in the coloring of the abalone. And I have seen other Rough Rider abalone that doesn't look as good as it does in this toothpick also. So there's that going on too. I don't know how consistent the coloring was on the Frost Family imitation abalone because, well, this is the only one I got. But all in all, I'm pretty well impressed with it. Is it a large toothpick? Well, definitely not. We can see that here. This is the Frost Cheetah, which is their large toothpick from 20 years ago. That's the 5-inch toothpick, and that's more of what most people consider a large toothpick. This falls into the medium-sized toothpicks, and these are just 4 inches long, closed. And the blade, I believe, comes in right at 3 inches. It might be a little more. Let's see. Yeah, the blade is 3 inches, or just a hair over 3 inches. So the overall length of the knife comes out at Yeah, like around 7 1/8 of an inch. That's all it is, compared to the case medium toothpicks, which are 4 1/4 inches closed, if you can see there. And so they have a 3 1/4 inch blade. So they end up coming in really more closely to 7 5/8 of an inches long. So you can see here there is a definite difference when you compare it to a case medium toothpick. Blade length is a little bit longer on the case, and the handle is a little bit longer. But for the Chinese-made medium toothpicks, 4 inches is usually the standard. You see the same thing with the Rough Riders. Same with the old Colts and stuff. They were all 4 inches with a 3 inch blade, compared to your tiny toothpicks, which are 3 inches with a 2.5 inch blade or 2 1/4 inch blade, something like that. I think the thing is, though, now Frost is coming out with a 3.5 inch toothpick. So this is their small toothpick, and then the 3.5 inches their medium toothpick, and then this is the large toothpick at 4 inches, which is a shame. I would much rather see them going at 3, 4, and 5, which is kind of what I expect. But all in all, I don't have any complaints about this knife. It was pretty well made. I think you can find Steel Warriors that are made just as well as this, but I think what might have been the difference with the Frost family knives is they did pay a little more attention to details, so the quality control was a little bit better, and then they also threw in the little felt pouch and stuff. So if you can find a Frost family knife, I would say, yeah, go ahead and take a shot at it. If it's in new condition, it should be pretty good. Price-wise, they're still going for about what they went for when they were first made, around $14.95. That's I got this one for under $20 on eBay, and shipping was dirt cheap on it. So yeah, you can probably get these for between $15. I wouldn't go more than 20. But you can see it. Not a bad little knife. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble. I'll talk to you again soon. Stick around for some slides. When I was reviewing the slides, I noticed that there was a noticeable gap up here. You notice there's nothing on the back here. But if you notice, it's not very noticeable right now. It's basically when you start opening the knife that you see this gap show up, and then when you close it all the way or open it all the way, the gap is gone. See how it kind of creeps open, and then when you shut it, it's pretty much gone again. And quite frankly, I don't know if that happens with a lot of other knives or not. So that might just be something with this knife, or it might be something with other knives. I would basically have to go and open, a couple hundred knives to see how common that kind of thing happens. Anyway, I thought I'd point it out, and like I said, I don't know if that's a big deal or not. I don't know how often that happens with knives, with case knives, Rough Rider knives, or any variety of other knives as far as that goes. But it was just an interesting observation.
Thanks for dropping by Knife Chats with Tobias. Don't forget to give us that thumbs up, leave a comment below, and subscribe and ring that notification bell so you know when the next episode is up and online.